Okay, you're an artist. You can do it all at once. Trying to do it all at once or trying to cover too much ground at the same time is definitely not a good idea. One of the main rules in software engineering, if not the main one, is the single responsibility principle. As the name itself suggests, if you're trying to squeeze too much logic at the same time into your classes and methods, you are only trying to get yourself and your software into trouble.
Amen, brother.
Now I would like you to imagine that you're a proud owner of a freshly registered startup. You got that great sense of pride in you, and wherever you go, you tell your friends about that great business of yours. Okay, so what kind of business is he talking about? A pretty good one, I guess. Okay, so potentially one that could change the world for better? Would that do? Yes, that would do. Ha! I knew it. So the business plan is already there, but there's a bit of anxiety in you regarding the future. How will my startup tackle the fierce competition? How am I supposed to choose the right stuff? Will the idea be actually useful? You get into an elevator while still fighting with all these thoughts. The door closes, but just before it shuts, someone holds it and gets in. A neatly dressed businessman stands just beside you. Okay, but what if, for example, I would like to imagine him in a green suit? Yes, green is fine. You know what? Actually, I would like to imagine a businesswoman instead of a businessman. Okay, let's do it like this. Try to imagine an influential business person, and whoever you think that is, you fit him in that story. Is that fair enough? Okay, cool. This business person is finishing his discussion on the phone. You can easily infer that he's closing an investment deal. Once he hangs off, I will approach him, you think to yourself. Why wait for another chance if there it is, standing next to me? Now I would like you to imagine that your business plan does not communicate a clear vision. Maybe it is not that bad, but it takes a while to understand. There are too many variables, and it seems that you want to cover too much ground at the same time. You exchange a few words with the businessman and proceed to introduce your company and its vision. After a few sentences, he is lost in a sea of details, and it is obvious he just wants to get out of the elevator as fast as possible. This is precisely what happens. You have lost your first chance, and no one knows how long you'll have to wait for another shot on getting that investment deal. The idea is the same when it comes to design and software. If the responsibility of a module or a single class cannot be easily described, then you can be sure that it is trying to do way too much. You should be aware at this point that you are only getting yourself and your team into trouble.
There's no way I'm changing.
The most obvious thought that comes into mind when trying to imagine single responsibility principle in practice is the one thing and one thing only. In general, that fits in the definition naturally. How about we approach the principle in another way? Let us ask the following question. Is there more than one reason for the unit to change? That changes the perspective while still keeping that one thing spirit of the first statement. Single responsibility principle is a straightforward principle, but it might be one of the hardest ones to get just right. Apart from the one reason to change question, I always like to couple it with another one. Am I able to describe the nature of the unit in one sentence? This tandem should make our decision a bit easier. The borders are still a bit vague, but we have something tangible to grab onto. Let us try to go through an example. We'll be working on a feature of a game that is responsible for managing the leveling up of a hero.
Wait. Why is he wielding a sword instead of an axe?
What's wrong with a sword? Besides, you're the one who painted that. I only do the talking here.
Trust me, he would look a lot cooler with an axe. Look.
Maybe you're right. Roll it.
Let us try to level up our hero right now. Each and every hero gets his level incremented by exactly 1. Every 10 levels add a special bonus spell to our hero. Every 5 levels give our hero some extra money he can spend at the local tavern just to let out some steam after all those battles he has won. And finally add a random buff to our hero that temporarily increases one of his main stats. Let us ask ourselves the following SRP questions. Is there only one reason to change? Answer A. Yes, anything regarding the level processing would go in this unit, so only this feature affects it. Answer B. Not quite. Sometimes the level might be increased by more than 1. We may also need to add and more bonuses to the user depending on the level. This might bloat the unit considerably. And answer C. The active buff is not really dependent on the exact level. The reason for the change here would be different when adding a spell or a buff. Now let us try to go through the answers for another question. Am I able to describe the nature of the unit in one sentence? Answer A. Yes, we are making our hero's level go up. Answer B. No, there is too much going on apart from the increase itself. The name of the class is too broad altogether. And answer C. Yes, we are increasing our hero's level and adding spells if adequate and throwing in some money every couple of levels and buffing his primary stats, whatever that means. Okay, so the point of view is a bit distributed, to say the least, on any of these questions. Let us go after the voices which say that the responsibility is not sharp enough and see where we can end up. Right, now what we did here is basically an internal refactoring. Definitely the public method became much cleaner and readable. We have also made constants out of some of the magic numbers to enhance the clarity even more. That's great, but the additional responsibility is still part of the main public method. It has just been moved to private members. In theory, we did nothing towards the single responsibility principle. Some would say that this is enough, but we are software artists. We will try to make this even better. Now we may have satisfied a bit our SRP fanatics. We have done the following. All the bonuses processing that is dependent on the level has been moved to a special class, level breakpoint bonus handler. Here we can safely add, remove any breakpoint bonuses that we need. All the decisions regarding additional buff and its types have been moved to another specialized class, level buff handler. Moving forward, any kind of enhancement to the hero during the level up process has been wrapped up in this Level Enhancement Manager class. It is not responsible for any logic. It just references the aforementioned specialized handlers. Our original Hero Level Manager class has now really only one reason to change. That is the increment. There is nothing more because any change to the enhancements is encapsulated within the Level Enhancement Manager. Even if a requirement is presented to remove all the enhancement management, then we can just inject an empty implementation. The Hero Level Manager would still remain unchanged. Do you agree with the final solution? Feel free to leave all your thoughts and remarks in the comment section.
As we have seen, the single responsibility principle is not an easy rule to satisfy.
Easier than my girlfriend, that's for sure. Can we cut this out actually?
I will actually keep that. So next time you'll think twice before you think about interrupting me. As we have seen in the examples, sometimes we need to ask questions and amend the code multiple times in a row before we reach a satisfactory result. We also need to be aware that by adding more and more abstractions, we can be flooded with too many classes, and the result will be the opposite to what we were originally aiming for. There is no direct rule, though, when to stop. You have to decide that on your own. When we consider the broad idea of SRP, we naturally want to put some kind of physical borders around it. Here are the most common ones that I have found teams tend to use. When a class has more than 3 fields, it should be split. When a method has more than 2 conditional levels, it should be broken down. When a class has more than 3 publicly accessible methods, it should be split. When a method has more than 40 lines, we should break it down. We may go on and on, of course, but we can clearly see where this is leading. The human brain likes to simplify things, that is a fact.
Especially the management brain. These types only see dates and numbers.
With people falling under the numbers tag, yes, we all know that, unfortunately. But digressions aside, imagine that every time you go out on a date, you carry a set of rules that your dad gave you to pick that perfect moment to go for the first kiss. Now it might be you've talked to her for at least 2 hours.
What is there to talk about? Just get to the point.
She's laughing at your stupid jokes, she's playing with her hair.
Yep, you're getting there.
She cannot get her eyes off you, even when her phone is buzzing every 30 seconds with notifications.
If you find one like that, let me know.
Now, you could go for the kiss after all of these are met, some of these are met, or only one. It depends on the situation, on the mood of the moment.
The more you wait, the less will happen. How many times do I need to tell you that?
Going back to software craftsmanship. Now you can clearly see why preparing a list of SRP rules really does not make much sense. There is a reason why we all are engineers, or shall I say artists. You have to assess the situation and figure it out right there on the spot. Forget about strict rules in the SRP context. The ideal option, in my opinion, when it comes to deciding whether to use SRP or not, is to use unit testing. Now, how can a unit test suite act as a watchdog for our SRP? There is a very unique symbiosis between software craftsmanship and unit testing. Automated testing in general also. Now, when it comes to software craftsmanship, we are making sure that technically everything is written in a way that guarantees the highest quality of code. Now, when it comes to automated testing, we are making sure that we consistently get the highest quality, but in terms of functionality. Now, combine them together, and your software is literally unstoppable.
So you could say that this combination is actually timeless.
That's a good correlation, actually. How did you...
Well, you said that this combination is actually unstoppable. Time is unstoppable, so the combination is timeless.
Why didn't I think of that? Going back to our subject, now, how does SRP let our unit tests thrive and unit tests make sure our code meets the single responsibility principle? Let us look at the following example of a restaurant application where the customer tries to pay for his order with a credit card.
In order to correctly process the bill, we will need the customer, waiter, and the order objects. The next step is to allow a bit of time for the waiter to prepare the bill and the customer to take out his wallet. Now we are moving into the main logic of the method. This is where the waiter would try and accept the order for each of the customer's credit cards until one succeeds. For each of the cards, the PIN followed by the transaction status will be verified. When the transaction is successful, we break the loop and mark the bill as paid. Otherwise, we kindly inform the customer that he must try a different card. If it happens that the customer has no more credit cards, well, we can only imagine what could happen next. Okay, we have gone through the implementation. Now let's try to figure out whether this method complies with the single responsibility principle. But instead of asking questions as previously, now we'll try to write a bunch of tests. After a small brainstorm, we came up with a few possible scenarios that we can put under test. Most of them, except the first one, do not look good, do not sound right, and possibly they even do not smell that good either. These tests clearly say that our original method definitely tries to do too much. We simply cannot come up with meaningful unit test names that are not a mile long. That is an indicator. We lost contact with single responsibility principle here. Let us try to refactor a bit the original method and see what impact that would have on our unit test names. We have done a little refactoring to the existing method, and we decided to move the logic into the waiter class. Thanks to that, we will not need to use that domain name in our unit testing names. We have also split the logic into two methods. The process order method that should be focused, as the name implies, around the order and the customer processing, and the pay for bill method, which is solely focused on credit card processing and tries not to cover any direct logic regarding the customer. Now, how did this affect our test suite? Well, for the pay for bill method, all looks great. All the test names are short and neat. Regarding the process order method, we have made some really good progress. There is still some room for improvement based, for example, on the last test method's name. Is this enough to satisfy our appetite for single responsibility principle? Does it satisfy yours? Let everyone know in the comments section below.
As we have seen, unit testing, apart from its original power of automated quality assurance, also can be quite helpful when it comes to meeting the software craftsmanship principles, like our today's single responsibility principle. Let us never neglect then the helping hand of our unit testing suite on our next programming assignment. SRP is the king of software design principles, but yet its ethereal nature makes it a hard task to implement. Thankfully, when we ask the right questions and validate the state of our unit testing suite, we can adjust and introduce just the right changes. There are no hard rules though, and every case is almost likely to be a bit different than all the rest. The conclusion might seem a bit daunting, but as a software artist, try thinking about that process as a challenge, where a lot is to be learned and a lot of fun is to be experienced.
So it's just like life.
What do you mean?
Well, life is a series of distinct obstacles to overcome. You have a choice of thinking about them in terms of a chore and a waste of time, or a challenge to conquer and learn from.
And that's the exclamation mark for our current episode. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope it has added a few ideas to your software craftsmanship toolkit. If you wish to expand further your knowledge of combining software craftsmanship techniques for automated testing, then please check my website to gain more understanding in that area. And remember, programming is supposed to be a creative, fun, and fulfilling experience. All you software artists out there, I'm looking forward to seeing you again on our next episode.